Tridip Bora is here. Asane Tridip Bora?
Asu sir.
Asa. Oh, ঠিক আছে. Just now, one of our faculty member, Dr. Ananda Das, have joined. So, and two other faculty members are also here from our department, from the Department of Geography, Sonapur College. They are Titupa Das and Berina Long, I believe. Now I request.
Sir, I am also present. Dhanjit,
yeah, Dhanjit Deka, please welcome to this talk.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Dhanjit Deka from Devabrot College is also here. So,
and few of our students are also present, sir.
Yeah, students are also present. They had their exam today.
Yes, sir. For second semester, we have exam today.
Yeah, their second semester students are appearing in some online exams right now, and their fourth semester students are here. So we welcome you all to this special talk program, and we hope your participation will make this program a grand success. We are very much grateful to Dr. Mala Dotto. She is, despite her busy schedule, she is here with us, and she will be deliberating on the topic. As I have already said, the topic would be development of geographical thought with special reference to post-modernism. So now I request Dr. Mala Dotto to start her deliberation. So I will allow, there are multiple participants can share simultaneously. So she can share her screen now. Dr. Mala Dotto.
Yes. A very good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes. In the beginning, I would like to thank the principal of Sonapur College and the head of the department of the geography for really inviting me here to give a talk on development of geographical thought with special reference to postmodernism. Actually, Dr. Biman Patwari had asked me to talk on postmodernism and a few more topics. But today I'll just deal with postmodernism. But I told him that before, giving you an idea of postmodernism, I would just like to give an idea of the development of geographical thought, because we find that students are often confused as to where that particular philosophy developed in which period of time. So very briefly, I will give you an idea of how geographical thought has developed through a table. Am I audible?
Yeah,
am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Yes, and you please mute for some time. You may mute your mic.
Yeah. Please mute your mic, all of you. After the completion of deliberation, after her deliberation, so you can unmute your mic and then you can ask any question.
Yes.
So for asking question, you have to unmute your mic. So now for time being,
for the time being,
yeah.
Thank you. You can ask questions later on. Okay. And I need to share my screen. I have some PowerPoint presentations. Vimanda?
Yeah. You can share now.
Yeah.
You are enabled now.
Yeah. Just wear my specs.
Students,
so,
you can, please. The students, I request the students to note down the points, because she will, she will give us the slides, show her slides, and while showing her slides, you just note down the points. What do you think?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes. Perfect. Now, through my experience of teaching in 20 years, I often find that students are not very comfortable with this paper of geographical thought, because it is unlike the other papers, like if it is like economic geography or population geography or even say GIS, They are comfortable, but in geographical, for this paper, particularly geographical thought paper, my students are a little less comfortable because I think the contents of this paper are quite abstract, and it is also the are a bit difficult to understand. And when you express these thoughts in writing for an examination, which is also difficult for a student when they don't have much grasp over this language. Am I correct? So uh, a particular subject has a history, and the status of a particular subject is not formed in one particular day. It is the input of various philosophers, thinkers, then geographers in this particular subject that go to make up the subject matter and methodology of any subject, including geography. So the history of how the particular subject has developed, the philosophies that go into to make the subject is very essential to understand in order to know the present status of the discipline. So yeah, just I'll give you an idea of the chronology of geographical development. In this particular table, you will find that the geography has been divided into different phases, and all of you are familiar with some of these phases because you have already, I think, completed some of these topics in your degree course. But a little later, where these modern phases, or like say postmodern phases, are a bit difficult. I'll just go through this table, but I will confine my lecture to postmodernism. But in order to understand postmodernism, you need to know a little bit about the history and nature of modernism also, because postmodernism cannot be explained without knowing modernism. So if you look at the table here, it is very simple. The first phase was the ancient period. I will not go into detail to any one of these phases, but I'll just mention that the first phase was ancient phase. Say it was between 1200 BC and 500 AD. And you know very well that the Greek scholar Eratosthenes first coined the word geography. He also gave a very important definition of geography. Geography as the study of the earth as the home of man. Yes, which makes this particular subject unique, because we study everything around us and we study it as a home of man. So in the ancient period, we have the major contribution from the Greeks and the Romans. You are all familiar with the Greeks and the Roman scholars. Then we have also contributions from Indians and the Chinese in this ancient period. So after the ancient period, we have the medieval period from 500 AD to 1715 AD. And this period has again been divided into three phases. First is the early medieval period. Your internet connection is unstable. So the first period is the early medieval period. During this period, what happened, the Greeks and the Romans, whatever they contributed, their contributions were there, but suddenly, the search became very powerful, and anything or any idea that did not conform to the teachings of the search were not accepted. People were punished if they did anything, or if they said anything against the search. So at this point of time, from say 500 to 1100 AD, Europe was in a very dark age. There was no such scientific fervor among the people, because everything scientific was stunted during this period. So it was a dark period in European history. Now, at the same time, when Europe was in darkness, there was the rise of the Arab school of thought. The Arabs, as you know, came from Arabia. They were actually preachers as well as conquerors. So they tried to find new land to conquer. They even set up bases in Portugal, Spain. They came over to India. And, there were some Arab scholars who had really good insights, and they through their experiences of travel and meeting different people of different cultures, they just wrote down these, and these later contributed to geographical thought. But mostly they were descriptive. There were some ideas of regional geography and geomorphology also, and they were mainly travelogues. And then we have the late medieval period, which is a very important period in the history of the geographical development. Here, so Europe slowly came out of the Dark Ages, and the European rulers, sent navigation teams of people to navigate across the world, and through the seas there were navigations, and they discovered new lands. And when they discovered new lands, these new lands were slowly colonized. Yes, so the age of discovery as exploration, there were different kinds of discoveries, scientific discoveries again took place in Europe. And so we have a very rich period, the age of discovery and explorations in the late medieval period. After that period, we have what I have written here in the table is modern and contemporary period. Modern and contemporary period extends from the last part of the age of discovery to say 1970s, you can say. Actually, this is a combination of modern and contemporary. The latter philosophies belong to the contemporary period mainly, and the first part mainly belongs to the modern. Now, I know you all have some idea of Germans, the contribution of the Germans. If you remember, the Germans were Alexander von Humboldt, then Richthofen, Heppner, then French geographers, Paul Vidal de la Blache, American geographers like Richard Arnschon, geographers, like Mackinder, and so on and so forth. So we have contributions of the Germans, French, American, British, and Soviet scholars, mainly geographers during this period. And we have some traditional philosophies that developed. I will not go into detail of any of these philosophies. I just mentioned that there was development of the traditional philosophies like determinism, possibilism, human ecology, morphology of landscape, and I didn't write here areal differentiation. And there was development of dualism in geography, whether geography should be physical or whether geography should be human, whether geography should be regional or whether geography should be systematic, or whether geography should be ideographic, descriptive, or nomothetic, law-giving science. Anyway, during this period, there was bifurcation of physical and human geography, and slowly, human geography, gained importance during this period. But we have to remember that the physical geography and the human geography both are sides, two sides of one coin, that is geography. One cannot do without the other, because first of all, we need to study about the physical landscape, the physical phenomena over the Earth's surface, and then only we can study about man's interaction of those phenomena on those physical features and phenomena. And man's interaction is always there. Man changes the environment. So it is important here in this study to study the man-environment relationship. So both physical and human geography, are important in any geographical analysis. Now, after the Second World War, up to say 1970, we have a very important period in geography, geographical thought or geographical development, that is the quantitative revolution. You have heard the names of Peter Haggett, Richard Chorley. They are quantitative geographers, and there was great use of mathematics and statistics in any kind of geographical analysis. And this period was really really a revolutionary period, which changed geography into spatial science. Okay, geography became nomothetic. It became a special science due to the quantitative revolution. But there was some discontentment among the geographers regarding quantification, because in quantitative revolution, everything was quantified, and man's emotions, his ideas, his feelings were not taken into account so much in quantitative analysis. So there was a rise of the behavior and humanistic geography just after the quantitative revolution. But I have to tell you, you have to note that these approaches were always there. One approach took the major position at one point of time, and the other approaches were always there. That means the history of the development of geography has never been smooth. It has got upheavals, it has got downfalls. So we have now, after the quantitative revolution, the behavioral and the humanistic geography, which laid more emphasis on the human behavior. So we have different isms developed during this period: idealism, phenomenology, existentialism, positivism, pragmatism, functionalism, realism, Marxism, feminism. These all came in between, just after just the modern period. We have these contemporary thoughts. But we have to remember side by side that at the same time, some kind of postmodern thought also developed along with the contemporary thoughts. Now, my topic is postmodernism and postmodern geography, which really developed as sub-discipline of geography, and which has really got its importance in the recent period. But before going to postmodernism, I would like to you can for some time unmute your microphones, please. For just a few, for some time, you can unmute. Yes. Yeah.
I unmute muting all, but এটা কাম কৰো মালা মই সকলোকে মিউট কৰি দিও, তুমি তোমাৰটো আনমিউট কৰি দিবা। মালা আনমিউট কৰে। Mala, you can unmute you.
Yes, I have unmuted.
Yeah, you unmuted. Okay.
So, what do you mean by modern? Being modern? Just an idea of what is modern.
Yeah, please respond.
Yes. Unmute koribo dise.
Oh.
Unmute koribo dise. Any idea of what is modern? Any student want to tell what is modern? Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So if I just ask anyone, what do you mean by modern? Rightly or wrongly, if I find a girl wearing, trousers, if she lives in a very sophisticated, modern kind of house, if she has got good education, and another girl who is come from village and wearing a sari, I think rightly or wrongly we will refer to the girl wearing trousers as a modern girl. Yes. So we just have some idea of what is modern, and actually to know the history of postmodernism, we need to understand the nature and the history of modernism first. Modernity may be defined as a particular constellation of power, knowledge, and social practices which first emerged in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries, and the forms and structures of which changed over time and extended themselves over space until by the middle of the 17th century, they constituted the dominant order of the planet. So there was a particular constellation of power. That means there was a group of people who were in association with each other, and they had power, they had knowledge, and they practiced some kind of societal norms. And these appeared in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. And these norms, societal norms, and these powerful people's ideas were, you know, accepted by the people. These have changed a little over time, but these have got expanded and diffused to other parts of the world, to other continents also, which is considered modern. Okay, so so the second slide. Are you done with the first slide? The definition of modernity. Yes. So you see, the word modern is Eurocentric. That means it comes from Europe. And the Europeans particularly, you know, they started the voyages, which I have already mentioned. During the late medieval period, they started the voyages across the seas. They found out new lands. Beyond their land, they searched for new lands. They found out new land, and which is called the New World. And they started colonizing the New World, and then began the mercantile economy that in the later period gave rise to what is called as capitalism. Yes, so the mercantile economy, you know, started due to the, you know, conquest of these new lands, and the colonies set up in these areas. So modernity in the end of the 18th century was associated with the idea of novelty. Novelty means something which origin. Okay, and it came to be associated with looking something forward and not looking backward. Okay, now again, this gave rise to the beginning of what is called the enlightenment in perception. Enlightenment in perception means whatever you perceive or what you see around yourself must have some, you know, they must be explained with some logical justification. There must be logic with what you say or what you do. That is being modern. That means you cannot have superstition, you cannot have some kind of myth in your mind. You have to have logic in everything. That is modernity. And this was called the Enlightenment project of reason, rationality, and progress towards truth, towards beauty, and towards life. There wasn't some kind of aesthetic beauty. There was some kind of aesthetic sense of truth, beauty, just life. So we find art, literature, you know, these all had some set norms, and these have had, you know, aesthetic values, and these were all novel, these were all new ideas, and these all originated in Europe. So the word modern is Eurocentric. Am I clear? Yes. Okay. Now there are some contrasting perspectives on the plus and minus sides of modernity. People, you know, accepted modernity during the, you know, 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. But what we find is that modernity do have some plus and minus signs. It's like one set of commentators hold that modernity was an unqualified human good, which promised to banish ignorance, misery, and despotism. Despotism means the oppressive rule of, you know, the tyrannical rule or oppressive rule of some ruler. These were there before. So modernity will remove ignorance among the people. This will remove misery from the people, as well as despotism. And it will free human beings from myth and superstition, disease and hunger, oppression and arbitrary rule. That means all these vices, where all these disadvantages, all these will be removed through modernity. some people really were advocating modernity for that purpose. But in the middle of the 20th century, you know, this idea of modernity vanishing, you know, ignorance, misery, despotism, superstition, disease, hunger, oppression, gave rise to some models of modernism. These models were some grand models, some grand theories were put forward about modernism, and these models sought to, you know, change the traditional world into the modern world. But we have to remember that modernity was a mixed blessing. Modernity has been closely intertwined with the process and objectives of colonialism and, you know, repressive imperialism. Colonialism, you know, along with modernity, we were colonies, we became colonies. Did we in India, you know, enjoy the same kind of advantages like the Europeans at that time? So there was colonialism, there was, this imperialism imposed on us, and there was also, you know, the growth of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism means there is a group of people who thinks my culture is above other cultures. So the Europeans thought they were superior culture and they sort of despised other cultures. So these came with modernity. Because it was Eurocentric, people in Europe thought that those who were forerunners of modernity, they thought that the other cultures were, you know, not as advanced as their cultures. So to other set of commentators, modernity has always had its dark side. Many of them argued that European modernity installed new grids of power and surveillance. New grids of power, there were powerful people and there was close observation over the people. There were strong rule over some sections of the people. And in Max Weber's well-known image, confined human agency, consciousness, and creativity within an iron cage of bureaucracy and regulation. So Max Weber was a sociologist, and he said that whatever human beings did, whatever art he followed, whatever writings he wanted to write, whatever architecture he wanted to, whatever architecture he had to, you know, he wanted to develop, these were all within an iron cage of bureaucracy and regulation. That means everything was regulated. Everyone, please unmute. Please mute. Is it okay? Can everyone hear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now you can please mute. Okay. Yes. So you in this image, you find there is the Max Weber, he's in an iron cage. That means human agency, human consciousness, these were all, you know, inside an iron bar. And whatever people followed, whatever creativity they had to follow certain norms. They had to follow some grand ideas. They had to follow some theories. And then only they would be recognized. Otherwise, there was some kind of control over them. This is called the iron cage of Max Weber, and modernity had this kind of demerit that people felt imprisoned, okay, and suffocated. In the next slide, you find that Giddens in 1990, you know, has drawn attention to 4 major institutional dimensions of modernity. These are called the institutionalized politics of modernity. These are actually not the merits, but the demerits of modernity. The first one is surveillance, second is industrialism, third is capitalism, and fourth is military power. Surveillance means you are observed as if you are a spy. Control of information and social supervision. There is supervision over you. Then you have industrialism. There is great transformation of nature after the Industrial Revolution, and you transform the natural world and you create your own environment, the created environment. Okay, destruction of nature. Then there was this capitalism, because there were colonies, there were so competitive labor and product markets. So there was accumulation of capital in the hands of particular groups of people. And there was military power. The military had great power because they tried to control violence in the context of industrialization of war. Industrialization of war means this is actually a period from, say, the Industrial Revolution to the Atomic Revolution, where you find that there were plenty of arms and ammunitions provided to the armies, the navies, due to industrialization. There was the production of mass weapons of destruction for war, and this warfare became industrialized. So these were these four institutionalized politics of modernity, brought down modernity. So let us define modernization now, or modernity. It is a process of social change resulting from diffusion, that means spreading, and adoption of the characteristics of expansive and apparently more advanced societies through societies which are less advanced. The less advanced societies come in contact with the more advanced societies, and they are modernized, so to say. So modernization involves a lot of social interaction among the people. A lot of people, the advanced societies and the less advanced societies interact with each other. We Indians interacted with the European rulers when we were colonies, and at a certain period of time we thought that those were more modern, so we have this idea of being modern. So we were less advanced, they were more advanced. So as a process, modernization, so we say that modernization involves social mobilization and growth of more effective and centralized apparatus of political and social control. There's military, there were bureaucracy controlling, there were political agencies controlling the lives of people. Okay. So, and there was great, economic operations. There was a growth of capitalism also at that time. So we find that, the modernization process was really intensified, through the 19th century and the 20th century, first half of the 20th century, because there was global scale of economic operations, there were globalization, and it became identified as a system of market-based political economic structure and organization. So there was a globalization of the world, and with the result of modernization. So we find that what idea we have in modernization is that there are certain agencies controlling the people. There are certain theories, and there are certain models of modernization which people had to follow. People looked up to the West to follow, their lifestyle that was being considered as modern. There were differences of class. There were class distinctions among the people. There were cultural ethnocentrism, because some races thought they were superior and the others were traditional, and the traditional people wanted to be more modern. These kind of things were there in modernity. But people were really feeling suffocated. They had to, they were they had to follow certain norms, and whatever creative things they did, they had to follow those, you know, they were under the umbrella of these grand, you know, models or grand theories. So there was discontentment among the people because, you know, individuality had no, you know, no place. The characteristics of an individual, the diversity of people, these things were really didn't matter in modernity. You know, everyone looked up to the West to become modern. So by the second half of the 20th century, we find that there was a profound crisis of identity and representation, you know, and it began to be felt in all around, in arts, in humanities, in social sciences, and particularly it happened in the West and in the colonial capitals also. And this was due to the accelerated pace of time-space compression. Now we come to this particular term, time-space compression. Now, time-space compression is a term that had been used by David Harvey in 1989 in his book, The Conditions of Post-modernity. And he refers to any kind of phenomena that alters the, you know, characteristics of time and space. Like a particular area is, say, a few kilometers away from us, but we have to travel and we need some time to travel to that particular place, right? But we have now this concept of time-space compression. The Harvey's time-space compression idea was taken from Karl Marx's theory of annihilation of time and space. That is, the annihilation means the killing or the termination of time and space. Like you see, I am talking here and you are hearing. You can see me and you can react. There is no space between us. Is there any space between us apparently? Although you are so far away, some of you are in Dorong and some of you are in Sonapur and some of you may be in Pandu, but we don't have any, you know, there is no need to think about the space between us. So you see the whole of the internet, the blog, you know, the Zoom classes, these social networks, these are examples of time-space compression. Am I clear? Time-space compression. So by the end of 1950s, the modern way of viewing phenomena in terms of the Cartesian coordinates had begun to be questioned, and the separation between place and space began to be drawn. Now you can see in the diagram the Cartesian coordinates, which you are all familiar with as geographers. You have a point of origin, and on the plane surface you can plot some points, but due to this time-space compression, these have acquired new meaning. And there is also separation of the ideas of place and space. We often use the word space in geography, and space in geography means any portion over the Earth's surface. This is not the astronomical space here. In geography, it is any place over the Earth's surface is space, and it is arbitrary without any such meaning. Just any place over the Earth's surface, any area over the Earth's surface. But that space is turned into a place when this space is identified with some human experience. Like you see, the latitude and longitude, the intersection of latitude and longitude, 20 degree, 59 minutes north, and 86 degree, 56 minutes east, is just a location or a space over the Earth's surface. But when we identify that particular location with the Mount Everest, that is the highest peak in the world, it becomes a place. So space is something abstract without any substantial meaning, but place has got an expression. It has got its local name, it has got a setting, it has got a landscape, it has ritual, it has got other people associated with it, it has got some expression, it has got some personal experience. So space, when it is used for religious purposes, becomes a religious place. So I think I'm clear what is place and space. So no, the importance of place has has been increasing in recent times, and there is great difference between place and space now. There is no such use, or the idea of Cartesian coordinates. These have all been changed due to this concept of time space compression. So all these call for new approaches to explanation of social reality, of how people interact with each other. So these approaches were focused on mainly space specificity, and which were beyond this modernist tradition of universalism. Nothing can be universalized now. No grand theories will explain all kinds of time and space relationship. So this was the beginning of post-modernism in social thought. Now I'm done with modernism, and I now come to post-modernism. Now, what is postmodernism? The philosophy of postmodernism is a genre of art and literature, and especially architecture, developed in reaction against the principles and practices of established modernism. That means the modern literature, the modern art, the modern architecture always followed some kind of models. And whoever, the artists, the writers, they had to follow certain kind of norms. So, the philosophy of postmodernism is against modernism. There is no one philosophy or one theory that will dictate or define the arts, the literature, etc., etc. So it developed as a reaction against the principles and practices of what was, modern. The condition of postmodernity can also be explained in terms of the social and cultural forms, which resulted directly from the crisis of over-accumulation in the capitalist economy. That means there was great capitalism in the country, in the world, and some people were very rich, the others poor. The divide became more and more, and so there was discontentment for, and there was a very high level modern complex, that was a housing complex that was set up in the post-war period, say in 1950s, in St. Louis in USA. Okay, that was the Pritilgo housing complex. And people became so very disillusioned with modernity that in 1972, they just demolished the housing complex of Pritilgo with such high, modern architecture. And in other places in North America also, there were demolitions of, modern architecture. And in those places of demolition, postmodern architecture were put up. Now we come to what is postmodern kind of architecture, but I just here mentioned that people became disillusioned with the modern way of lifestyle, and there were demolitions in USA and in many Western countries of these very high level modern architecture. So one example is Pritilgo housing complex in St. Louis, which was demolished in 1972, which was regarded as a very high symbol of modernism in 1950s. It was built in 1950s. So postmodernism is a philosophical movement that sought to shatter the popular expression of visual style of any forms, beliefs, and ideas, first in art and architecture, and then in literature and social sciences, including geography. So in literature also it came. In literature, there was no need to follow any certain norm. Anyone can write from his own experience. Anyone has a culture, a writer has a different culture. He has a different class. He has a totally different experience, which is different from other writers. So he can write book without following any norms. So this idea was there in postmodernism, and it developed in art, literature, architecture, and social sciences, and geography was not included. It came into geography also. You can see in this slide the Pritilgaon housing complex, which once stood so high and mighty in 1950s. It was such a beautiful housing complex, which was demolished in 1972 because people became, they were really discontented with this high modern architecture, and they wanted to bring something new and wanted to bring something which was against modernity. So, Deere in 1986 has classified postmodernism into 3 components. Postmodernism has been divided into 3 components by Deere in 1986. Number 1 is postmodernism as a style. What is style? In postmodern style, there is no one style. Mind you, no one style. As a style, it originated in literature, art, film, photography, architecture, and there was difference, there was difference in style, and there was promotion of the difference, and there was lack of conformity to one another. There is lack of conformity to, to the overriding structural imperatives. There was no such one norm to be followed. There were many styles to be followed. In a painting, for example, there could be different kind of hues and colors. There can be different kind of design. No one will say that your painting is not following any style. This does not belong to this particular age. This is they cannot criticize in any way. I can draw anything I like. I can have my own ideas. There is no style in postmodernism. No one style. Everyone has his own experiences and can give his own, show his own style, can do a particular thing in a particular way. Similarly in architecture also, it is, if you see postmodern architecture, you will find that they are like abstract. They are different from modern. You can easily see when I show you a few other slides. You can see. Thank you. Then the postmodernism as a method. Postmodernism as a method. In all subjects we have method, yes, but in postmodernism, what is the method? That is the method of deconstruction. Deconstruction is a method that is used in postmodernism. I will give you an example of deconstruction. It is a destabilizing method. Like you have a flower vase, which is a very beautiful vase, very modern vase on the table. You have some shape, and it belongs to this particular age. You have brought it, this is from Europe, and this belongs to this particular age. It has style. And you take that vase and you drop that vase on the floor, and it breaks into innumerable pieces. Pick up 1 or 2 pieces. These pieces are totally different from the full beautiful flower vase. These will have different shape. This will have different size. These will have different colors. These will have different kind of, you know, everything will be different in each piece. And you can study each piece separately. Yes, this is deconstruction. You take something and break it into pieces and then study each piece. So as a writer, if I'm a writer, I will write something and you can view me as a reader. You can view me as a reader differently. Another person can view me as a reader differently. My writings will be interpreted differently by each and every person, because you belong to a different class, you belong to a different race, say, or you have a different background, so you can have different kinds of experiences. There is no need to write about that particular big book in only one way, and this is say this construction. And the French philosopher Derrida was the man behind this idea of deconstruction. And in geography, we have Olson in 1980, who was the earliest exponent of deconstruction in geography. Can you all hear me? Please tell. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Then postmodernism as an epoch. Epoch means era. Yes, that means postmodernism is an epoch, and as an epoch, it marks the beginning of a radical break from the past. In the past, it was modern, and now it is postmodern. That means we have now a history created. We have a new era. So the postmodern is considered as a new era in social sciences, in the thinking, or in the philosophical world. So Deere has, rightly said that there are three components of postmodernism. One is postmodernism as a style, then we have postmodernism as a method, and postmodernism as epoch. Yes. So postmodernism is as a style. There is no one style. Everyone can follow everyone's own creative style. No one will be there to dictate your style. Yes, this new style in art and architecture mainly. Then there is this method, this destabilizing method of deconstruction, where there is revolt against any kind of method or any kind of rationality of modernism. Okay, there is this revolt. There is, through this destabilizing method of deconstruction, where you break the big laws into smaller parts and study these. There is more inclusiveness in these laws. There is more diversity in these laws. And the postmodernism also tries to do radically away with the past, which is considered an epoch. So postmodernism as a style, as a method, as an epoch, you may explain. Yes. Now this slide I have but I hope you will be able to follow. Here I have written the characteristics of postmodernism in points. First point, postmodernism is a recent trend. You may note down also if you want. Postmodernism is a recent trend in the development of geographical thought. True, 1970s onwards, we have postmodern philosophy. Like it first came in art, sciences, and literature, or not science, art, literature, architecture, and into the social sciences, and it came into geography also. Then it refers to the criticism of existing laws and theories and their scrutiny and modification. The existent laws and theories that are there, postmodern geographers or postmodern scholars of any discipline tries to criticize those laws because they don't believe in those grand laws. Postmodernism number 3 deals with deconstruction. It includes deconstruction of existent laws. I've already explained. It believes that no is perfect and there is scope for improvement in the existing laws. Blindly, there is no following of any one law. There is no believing that that law is perfect. That law can be improved. The law can be cut down into pieces, and each part can be studied separately. So postmodernism deals with deconstruction. The post number 4, modernism aims at breakdown of laws and theories to enhance inclusiveness and diversity. Different things can be included. There, all the things can be incorporated inside, inside a study. Then postmodern theories reject metaphysical laws and meta-narratives. Metaphysical is a word that comes from philosophy. It means that there are certain laws that controls nature, and human beings are a part of it. And we have also meta-narratives, the metaphysical laws, some narratives of some grand laws, explanation of these grand laws. And postmodern theories reject these metaphysical laws and theories. They believe that there is no law in existence that can be all. It's a sort of, say, it's a metaphysical law, say. But postmodern philosophers believe that it is not all applicable. In fact, every unit of the earth is independent and unique and should be studied with special emphasis and care. So everything cannot be generalized because there is diversity, there is plurality, there is uniqueness in every part of the world. Number 6, postmodernism deals with uniqueness of phenomena and aims to uphold the uniqueness of every phenomenon in the process of study. The unique nature of a particular phenomenon, whether it is a natural phenomenon or a human phenomenon, and remember that individuality is given a great importance in postmodernism. So this uniqueness is studied in postmodernism. Postmodernism emphasizes on individuality rather than generalization, because generalization are different when the units are as diverse as the components of the Earth's surface. So small areas, the idea of place is it may be a very small area. The importance is given on place, and the importance is given on individuality and not on generalization. We cannot generalize everything. We cannot generalize a particular class of people living in a particular area. We have to go into detail. We have to study each individually. The main proponents of postmodernism include Jean Baudrillard, they are philosophers, not geographers. Jacques Derrida, who gave the idea of deconstruction. Michel Foucault, and many others. They were from other disciplines. They were mainly philosophers, and they gave the idea of, firstly, postmodernism, which came into art, literature, architecture, etc., etc. But we have some important postmodern geographers such as Nigel Thrift, William Bunge, Edward Souza, David Harvey. These are postmodern geographers. Then postmodernism supports a descriptive analysis of the phenomenon over the Earth's surface. They are using mostly descriptive method of analysis over the Earth's surface. Number 10, postmodernism presents a delicate balance between qualitative as well as quantitative study and analysis of phenomenon over the Earth's surface. Postmodernism, like areal differentiation given by Hartshorne, are anti-spatial science. They are not for lawmaking. They, both of them, tries to study both areal differentiation and postmodernism tries to study each area uniquely. But here I would like to tell you that there is a difference between postmodernism and areal differentiation by Hartshorne. The regional differentiation by Hartshorne was indifferent to the everyday experience of societal relationship. But in postmodernism, there is a declared commitment to the understanding of the conditions of man in a particular place and the ways that spaces are, are spatially or socially constructed. In areal differentiation, we find that the areal differentiation of Hartshorne, they were not very, they were sort of indifferent to the everyday experiences of societal relationship. They also mainly studied the natural phenomena. That was the difference between areal differentiation and now postmodernism. Now, individuality is given importance and society is given importance here in postmodernism. So we find that both of these were anti-spatial in the sense that they do not exactly support the quantitative revolution or so much quantification. There is descriptive analysis used in both of these, and but postmodernism, we find that there is a delicate balance between qualitative as well as quantitative studies. Then postmodernism includes both objective analysis as well as subjective analysis. However, we find that the inclination is more towards subjectivity than objectivity. My dear students, I suppose you know what is objective and what is subjective. Objective means without any bias, and subjective may have certain kind of feelings or emotions attached to a particular idea. So here in postmodernism, you have your own ideas, can use your own creativity, you can use your own experience. So there is subjectivity, more of subjectivity than objectivity. Clear? Okay. Then now again, postmodernism is not just limited to geography, but is applicable across other disciplines. In that sense, postmodernism is multidisciplinary. Next, postmodernism is characterized by skepticism towards the grand claims and grand theories of modern era. So any grand claims, maybe the Chrysler's theory of transportation theory, the division cycle theory, these are postmodern geographers are skeptic. That means they are critical of these grand claims and grand theories. They do not believe in these grand claims and grand theories because they know that each part of the earth is unique and can be studied uniquely, and each will have a different explanation. Postmodernism is also characterized by fragmentation of meta theories, meta narratives, and grand claims with the purpose of identifying, locating, and exposing the fundamental hollowness of these grand theories. So postmodernism also tries to break the big theories into smaller parts. It is also characterized by pluralism that distinguishes it from modernism, and it is used generically to refer loosely to a series of more specific perspectives such as post-structuralism, post-colonialism, feminism. Post-structuralism is an idea that we draw from sociology, anthropology, and linguistics. That implies that human culture must be understood by the relationship of a broader structural overarching system. That means what human beings do, how they think, how they perceive, how they feel. These are under one kind of structure, one kind of model. This was a model. Now we have the post-structural view. A structural view of an apple is like an apple is crisp, sweet, juicy, round, hard. This is a preconceived idea of an apple. In post-structuralism, they do not follow these preconceived ideas, and they do not believe that anything can be explained within an pre-established socially constructed structures. They believe that, you know, each and everything is an experience and can be explained, or human behavior can be explained taking into account his his particular set of experiences. So we have some perspectives like post-structuralism, and then we have also here post-colonialism, which is an academic study. Post-colonialism is an academic study of the cultural legacy of colonialism. That means we Indians were colonies, and after the colonies, say after where we were free, we developed some certain ideas of life. We have certain way of living that are actually left legacy of those colonies because of the colonial times. This post-colonialism is actually an academic study of the cultural legacy of colonialism and the consequences of the control and exploitation of the colonized people and their lands by their rulers. Again, we also study feminism here under postmodernism, and we know that feminism is a range of social movements and political movements trying for the equality of both the sexes. So postmodernism favors these differences, and so we say that it is characterized by pluralism, and this distinguishes postmodernism from modernism. Now we have LGBT rights, we have gay rights, we have lesbian rights. These are actually possible because of postmodernism. Modernity would not have allowed this, but this is now possible because of this postmodernist philosophy. Now I come to almost the last part of my lecture. This is impact of postmodernism on human geography. How postmodernism has impacted human geography. Postmodernism is a theoretical approach to human geography born as a critique to modernism, like any other social sciences. It's a theoretical approach to human geography born as a critique to modernism. Number two, postmodern social thought was a tidal wave which swept through human geography, provoking active hostility, incomprehension, but great interest. Incomprehension. People were not able to understand what is postmodernism. The situation, was not very peaceful. It was hostile. But at the same time, the postmodern thought brought interest among the people. It engaged itself in style, it engaged itself in method, it engaged itself in epoch, in geographical thinking also. Not only confined to art, literature, or architecture, but there was style, no one style, anyone could follow any style in geographical writings. There were diversity of methods, all kinds of methods could be followed. And epoch in geography also, postmodernism is an epoch. In the 1970s, it does away with the past, and now it is post-geographical era. Postmodernism brought theoretical and philosophical human geography into mainstream social science. When geography accepted this postmodern philosophy, applied postmodernism in research or analysis of any phenomena over the Earth's surface, it essentially naturally entered into mainstream social science. Then cultural landscape and place-making got importance in geographical studies. I have already told you how space becomes a place when it is associated with human activities. So cultural landscape and place-making, cultural studies, the study of places got very important in geographical studies in postmodern period. Then there was the, problems of representation in geographical writings were also discussed in postmodernism. The value of identity of an individual gained importance. Now studies can be, centered around individuals, and there was, the importance given to the identity of people, not only as a race or a culture, but each and every people or each and every phenomena over the Earth's surface, a micro study of phenomena and individual gained importance in geography in postmodern period. Then there was reassertion of natural and environmental issues, small issues, or which in small areas were given importance. So this was one plus point of postmodernism. It has also changed the direction and sphere of geographical research, although the other older methods are still there, yet we have this, through postmodernism, the direction and sphere of geographical research has now changed. There is more work on women empowerment, feminism, etc., etc. It led to the development of various new concepts and approaches in the discipline of geography. Some new concepts like time-space compression, then the idea of locality, the idea of place, the idea of what is space, Cartesian coordinate system, these kind of new concepts have come into the discipline of geography also. And it has led to the emergence of various subdisciplines, yes, like feminism, gender studies. These disciplines have come into geography. Technological development and postmodernism together changed the nature of geographical study. Technological development, as I have already told you, this internet development and any other kind of technological development, the newer technological developments have, together with postmodernism, has altogether studied the, changed the nature of this particular subject. Postmodernism has infused innovativeness into the discipline. Whatever is there, the people have tried to innovate. The people are starting to do something new, taking the old as basis. Now, and it has also expanded the horizons in geographical study. Now, the horizons of geographical study are not limited. And now we have an expanded horizon or an expanded field of geographical studies through postmodernism. Now here in this slide, I just give you from the internet some idea of postmodern art. If you look at the art, we are not able to follow, or we say we do not know. We just have a feeling that it is different from modern form of art. All these, just have a look here. Then this is postmodern architecture. It is difficult. It is certainly different from the modern style of architecture, where in modern style we have maybe some straight rectangular kind of architecture. And here, this is the Sydney Opera House, and here this is the water library. Yes, water library, Canada Water Library. This is situated in London, the second one. So we find that the architecture here is totally different it is something that only one person can think about. It doesn't conform to any kind of norms. These are postmodern architecture. Then I would like to give you some idea about some famous books on postmodernism. Origins of Postmodernity by Perry Anderson. This is a good book on postmodernism. Then Postmodern Theory by Stephen Best and Douglas Kellner. Then From Modernism to Postmodernism by Lawrence E. Cahoon. These are writers, not essentially geographers, but number 4, 5, 6, and 7, they are geographers writing on postmodernism. Number 4, The Condition of Postmodernity by David Harvey. Then Post Metropolis by Edward Souza. Then Third Space also is an important book by Edward Souza on postmodernism. And Spatial Formations by Nigel Trift. The last 4 are books by geographers. And this is Edward Souza, Nigel Trift, David Harvey, William Bungy. Yeah. So with respect and gratitude, I would like to mention the names of the following stalwarts in geographical scholarship from whom I have borrowed texts and ideas for my lecture today. They are, with great sorrow, I would like to say that Sudipta Adhikari sir passed away, and most of us, I think, had the opportunity to meet him when he came here. I also met him for a couple of times here. Sudipta Adhikari sir, then R.D. Dixit, Lalita Rana, Richard Peet. I have drawn ideas from their books, so I thank you. And yes, I thank all my dear students across different colleges from Assam, and my special thanks goes to the principal, Sonapur College, and then Bimanda, and I'm sure I have a few other colleagues here also. Dhanjit is here, and a few others are here. I thank you so much for being here to support me in this lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maladatta.
Welcome. Thank you.
So now it's time for interaction. I request the students, if you have any questions, if you want to have some more clarifications, you can ask question to Dr. Maladatta. She'll be here for a few minutes. Any questions? Someone raised a hand also in between. I don't know who she. One raise her hand. If you ask any questions, that is good for you.
Did you understand? First of all, please tell me, did I make any sense?
Yes, ma'am. And it's a wonderful
Dear students, could you jot down a few points that will be helpful to you?
I believe this is a very very useful for them. There was nice deliberations, and we had barely discussed the whole issue of the postmodernism in geography, and I think the students have benefited a lot. So there may be some questions raised in their minds. So if you ask any questions, that is good. So dear students, so the students from any college, from not only from Sonapur College, from any college can ask question. No
That means
question?
they didn't understand. That means they didn't understand anything.
No. They have understood, but they are a bit, you know.
I know because I understand geographical thought is very close to my heart,
Yeah.
Mimanda,
Yeah, I
and
know.
yeah, and the thing is that I will advise the students to read a lot. Dikshit is a good writer. Then Sudipta Adhikari is also a good writer. I don't know. I don't follow a few other writers, but Dikshit writes really well. And Richard Peace's writings are a bit difficult for me also. He's when the writers are foreign writers, the way of expression is a bit difficult. So I have a bit of difficulty understanding their writings also sometimes. But for students, I would suggest the Dikshit and Sudipta Adhikari, and for some portions, but this postmodernism is not there. Lalita Rana's book is also very clear. Geographical thought by Lalita Rana. This is a very good book for undergraduate level and a little for postgraduate level also, but she has not touched this postmodernism here.
Okay.
But the idea of place, space, these are there. So my just humble advice to all the students is that this particular paper needs a bit of reading, and do not be afraid. You just read, go through these books, go to try these topics, and then try to write on your own, and I'm sure you will improve. And one day, all of you are going to be teachers, and you are going to do well. Thank you so much.
See, I am asking a question. This nowadays the students
Yes,
are become more dependent on.
if I can answer, yes.
Yeah, no, but you can answer it. The students are become this more dependent on some online kind
Notes.
of these notes. They generally go search in the Google or in some this academic sites for their study materials. Can you suggest any few such sites where they can visit for getting their notes on this particular topic?
See, Bimanda, regarding this particular paper, whenever I study this really, you can go through the books, those e-books, okay. But when I sit down to study any particular topic, I always open books. If you have books, it is okay. But so see, you come across some concepts. Time-space compression here, like Weber's be explained in a book. So for those things, I look up at the internet, try to understand my things clear myself. But as far as I follow books, and I will not say that the internet provides everything, but still you have to balance between books and internet.
Right. So they have to be more dependent on the books.
Means for this paper, it is better if they can see the internet also, what the internet says, or some ideas given which are not clear in the books, like structuralism or what is post-colonialism. Those things I looked up on the internet, not to explain. So both of these should be there. And totally avoiding books, I will not advise.
Okay. Thank you so much. If you don't have any questions, I'm definitely have to just wind up this session. And if any one of you, one or two of you, can give any comments or any kind of your reactions. If you don't have your questions, you can also express your reactions also, one or two.
Dhanjit is there, I think.
Yeah.
Or he has left.
Dhanjit maybe left. Yeah. Since the session is over, I think. কোনবাই কিবা খুদিব পাৰা এনি কোৱেশ্চন যিকোনো ভাষাত অসমীয়াতে খুদা একো নাই কিবা আছে যদি পৰা so there is one student from Nogao College. He is an undergraduate student, though we organize this program for the PG students, but very interestingly I appreciate his this willingness, his the spirit that he has joined. He's an undergraduate student, and he has also joined. He wrote me later yesterday, sent me an email for giving his permission. So I readily given to him permissions. I gave him the link, and now he is joining. Your reaction, please, Tridip.
First of all, thank you, sir, for permit me to being a part of this session.
Yeah.
And secondly, I thank Mala Dr. ma'am. In our first semester, we have studied a lot about modernism, but not about postmodernism. So I think you have cleared it very clearly. I will thank you, therefore. I want to ask you a question. In postmodernism, who are the main Indian geographers
Right.
who have worked a lot?
Contributed. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Yes.
is like I knew this question would be coming, but Bimanda, I propose to, I think I may take another class, right?
Yeah.
So I will study more on Indian postmodern, geographers,
Yeah.
and then maybe I'll be able to answer in my next class.
Okay.
I'm leaving that Indian postmodern geography in Indian context.
Yeah.
In
That is
the
the
Indian,
next session.
Yes, I have to, yes, because I have to look up nicely, and I haven't done much homework on that.
Okay. Actually, yeah. So for us, she is in a different university. She is not in our university. Means where we are presently.
We are,
Pursuing. Yeah, she is from a different university. She have got a different syllabus,
Yes.
different curriculum. So for us only, for the last week, for the whole week, last week, she had done a lot of homework for preparing this class, and she has also had a commitment to take another class on that gender, this perspective of the postmodernism.
there I will include this
Yeah.
Indian
So in that class, in the
postmodernism.
yeah.
I'm planning to, because I thought this class will be a bit too much, and moreover, I'll have to go through that a little
Right.
more. Yes.
Right. So yeah. So in the
I
next
think
class, Tridip,
Okay.
in the,
Okay, sir.
in the
And
next
I'm-
class, she will definitely clear your these things, your questions, and also she will be she will be dealing with the postmodernism and the gender perspective. Okay. So
Okay,
for
sir.
now, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Mala Dutta, as well as those the faculty members from different colleges who have joined today's session. And my dear students, I believe you have learned a lot, and I expect similar gesture from you. You participate in our next session also, which we'll announce later. For now, I thank everyone, and I am just okay. Thank you, Mala.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
It has been a good, nice experience for me also.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate this student from Nagaon College.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
I wish all of you a bright future. And I hope some of you will come to Cotton to study. Where I
You're
can
welcome.
directly.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. I am winding up. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Okay, bye.
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 Thank you.